Imagine your YouTube video hits 1,000,000 views and then it gets demonetized overnight because of the music. That's basically what just happened to an artist who invested $100,000 of her own money into producing and releasing her album. And there's a lesson in that for every YouTuber. Now, her name is KARRA. She's an independent artist. She invested 6 figures of her own money into producing her album the traditional music industry way, right? So she had a lot of high-level production. She had a big budget for full-on film crews, choreography, outfit changes, locations, maybe rental cars, things of that nature, which adds up when you start doing visuals for every single song on that project, or even just multiple, even if it's not every single song, right? So she didn't cut any corners, but parts of her music were actually muted and removed from TikTok specifically because of copyright issues. And those copyright issues were tied to the collaborators that she was working with. Their labels and entities that they were associated with were in the middle of a copyright lawsuit over some music. And so that automatically got her music muted because during the lawsuit, all the music that belonged to that label was muted. We'll translate the KARRA situation into your world as a YouTuber. Might not be spending $100,000 on a video, but you are spending hours filming, editing. You spend money on the gear, whether it's your phone, lights, etc. You spend money on software. You spend money on freelancers possibly. Now imagine this, you upload the video and starts getting traction. It hits 50, 100,000, maybe 500,000 views, maybe even a whole million. And then you get the copyright claim, not because you stole music, not because you were being shady, but simply because the rights to the music weren't clear. The track got claimed later on, or the platform flagged it automatically, even if they're wrong about it. Now all that revenue, all that time and effort, gone, frozen, or paid to somebody else. And that's not what we want, YouTubers. So, and if you're an editor, the risk is even bigger. Imagine this. You deliver a client project. They're happy, they post that everything looks good, and then weeks later, copyright strike, muted ad, demonetized video, maybe a legal notice. And you know who gets blamed? You. Not your fault, but your reputation is now tied to the issue. That's why music clearance is not optional. It is a part of being a professional. So one strong point that I'm making here is that even professionals run into issues with licensing. Okay. So this is why subscription libraries really help to reduce this risk. It's imperative to know who owns the rights to the music that you're going to use in your content and in your videos. And that's just to prevent any headaches, any copyright issues. You don't want to waste any time, energy, and money by having a video that's not going to do what it was intended to do, which was have more reach, make you some cash, and continue to elevate and grow your brand, business, company, whatever the case may be. She didn't even directly cause these issues, yet she had to suffer the consequences. Now, if you're a monetized YouTuber and using music outside of the YouTube built-in library, this applies to you more than you think. Here's the issue. Her music ended up getting muted on platforms and deleted from Spotify. And part of that is because of copyright issues, right? So her collaborators were involved in those lawsuits that I mentioned earlier, and that really had a trickle-down effect on the release and rollout of her music. Now, how does this relate to you as a YouTuber? See, using music for your long-form content and not having the rights can get you a copyright claim, and having multiple offenses can even get you a copyright strike, which will put your channel in danger of being deleted. Demonetized and deleted are not the things that you want to become, right? You worked way too hard to become monetized. You just got monetized and you don't want to mess that up. I totally understand. That's where the Savage Sound Library comes in. I created the Savage Sound Library for YouTubers and creators like yourself. I've had issues myself with copyright on YouTube, and so I understand it on a deeper level than the average content creator would. So I created a copyright and royalty-free music library that makes it easy, removes all the headaches, and you won't get any copyright claims on your videos. So if you are interested in chill house, chill West Coast hip hop, and chill hip hop, and drum and bass instrumentals and songs, go to savagesoundlibrary.com, enter your email into the email section. It's going to send you a discount code that will let you select up to 10 tracks, and you'll get them for $7. That's 98.5% off. Even if you select less than 10 tracks, the 98.5% off discount code will still apply. So it'll be less than $7 if you pick less than 10 tracks. All right. But essentially it's the same issue on a different scale. She put months and years of her hard work into creating this very artistic rollout and presentation of her album, just to have issues with her songs being muted on TikTok due to copyright lawsuits that her collaborators were involved in. That really hurt the promotion and the release of her music. Her fans posted a lot of videos asking where the music is, versus the desired effect, which would have been her fans posting a lot of videos of her music, of them performing her music, dancing to her music, just generally experiencing and enjoying the music. That's word of mouth marketing, and that's how you get your music around to other people, okay? And you grow your fan base in that way. So unfortunately, due to copyright issues, she wasn't able to fully receive the benefits of her labor. What if you made a YouTube video and it got 1 million views and then it got demonetized? Imagine all that revenue going to someone else just because the music wasn't cleared properly. Or if you're an editor and you do client projects, imagine delivering that and finding out they had issues with the music later on. So look, one of the biggest takeaways from this is that KARRA did everything right? According to the traditional music industry playbook, she did everything she was supposed to do. She invested real money, hired real collaborators, shot high quality music videos, and built a proper rollout. This was not a bedroom project, okay? This was a fully funded professional release. And even with all that planning, all of that money, and all of that effort, the entire campaign got disrupted by rights issues out of her control, right? Now that's scary, and it shows you something important though. You don't have to do anything necessarily wrong to run into copyright issues with these platforms. Now, sometimes the problem can come from a collaborator, a sample, a label dispute, distributor issue, etc., etc. When you get a copyright claim on your video, it creates a domino effect. You can't monetize the video. YouTube might give you a warning, okay? And if the video gets pushed, you lose out on all the revenue, and it's gonna go back to the person who claimed the video. So instead of monetizing a high-performing video, capitalizing by using the same music or music source, and it saves you some time in your workflow and process, and collecting a check from the video that's doing well, you don't get any money. You need a new music source, which is more time and effort and energy, and you waste a video essentially. And then that kills the feeling that you're supposed to get during a nice viral moment, or just a moment of traction, right? It doesn't even have to be insanely viral. So one strong point that I'm making here is that even professionals run into issues with licensing, okay? So this is why subscription libraries really help to reduce this risk. It's imperative to know who owns the rights to the music that you're going to use in your content and in your videos. And that's just to prevent any headaches, any copyright issues. You don't want to waste any time, energy, and money by having a video that's not going to do what it was intended to do, which was have more reach, make you some cash, and continue to elevate and grow your brand, business, company, whatever the case may be. All right. So at this point, I know you're thinking, well, what happened to KARRA's music? I'll continue breaking that down and further drive the point home. So eventually her music got unmuted on TikTok, but it was like 6 to 9 months after the release. So she lost a lot of traction and momentum. She got her song licensed on a TV show though. She didn't specify which one, but she was able to do this because she had the rights to the music. Everything was made from scratch, and she worked with all the collaborators herself directly. This caused a spike in streams on Spotify. Somebody may have added it to some kind of botted playlist and it got deleted off of Spotify, right? So from a content creator's point of view, she was able to secure, well, from a content creator and a musician's point of view, she was able to secure a sync placement, which just means that her music was used in some kind of media. So think TV, movies, even YouTube, or some kind of media advertisement, right? So they used her song. She was able to secure the placement. She probably got paid up front. If she didn't, she's getting paid on the back end. Regardless, her music's being used, and people are going to pay attention to that. And that brings attention to her music, right? It brought attention to her music, which caused good things to happen and bad things to happen, ironically. But the point that I'm making here, though, is that she's getting paid for it and didn't have any issues. And the reason for that is because when music is paired with media, it's more valuable. It also makes media more valuable. Media makes music more valuable. Music makes media more valuable. They work hand in hand, and that's why artists who work with companies, even content creators and YouTubers like I do, but also work with companies too, we understand the value here, right? That's why it's an even exchange. But the point that I'm making here, though, is essentially because music and media combined are more inherently make each one more valuable, and they're valuable as a unit, these TV shows and movies need to be able to clear the rights to the music really fast. It's the same thing with you. When you upload a YouTube video and you're on your schedule and you've been doing well and your channel is growing, you don't want to have to search all over the internet for other music when you thought you had the right music ready to go. When your upload schedule is 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and it's Friday, and now you realize, oh, I don't even have we're having issues. Copyright checks have confirmed that there's something wrong with this video. Now I got to, scramble to re-edit and find other music. That's a big issue. It's basically the same thing. And that's why royalty-free and copyright-free music libraries are very, very important, okay? And that's how this story is really related, okay? There's a lot of things that really are interchangeable here. This is why content creation is king in today's world. Now, it's not just for artists, but for anybody who's pushing their brand or business. If you're a music artist, the conclusion of the KARRA video is that, music is more valuable when it's paired with video. And that's why YouTube is the king of all the social media platforms, especially as a musician. Now, that's precisely why there are now rules around what music you can and can't use on a platform like YouTube. This is why businesses use royalty-free music libraries. It just helps to prevent the headaches that come from scaling media content, okay? See, a lot of creators think, okay, I'll just grab something from YouTube. I'll just use this track I found. It says royalty-free in the title, but the truth of the matter is a lot of free music gets claimed later or has unclear rights. You don't have anything in place. You didn't pay for a subscription. You didn't get a contract in place, right? So unless they tell you it's free and you have full unlimited usage rights, then you're not going to have the results that you are seeking from using that music in your content. And see, this is the thing. Platforms don't care about your intentions. They only care about who owns the rights at the time that the, mishap, I guess you could call it, was committed, okay? And most creators obsess over camera quality, editing transitions, color grading, thumbnails, etc. But they completely ignore the music rights. And the crazy part is, a video with average visuals and clean rights is more valuable than a cinematic masterpiece that you can't monetize, okay? So that's something that I want y'all to understand. At the end of the day, if you don't control the rights, you don't control the revenue. And that's gonna be a big issue if you are full-time or looking to go full-time as a YouTuber. So this is exactly why agencies, production companies, brands, TV networks, documentary filmmakers, they all use royalty-free libraries, or they get custom music made by a producer or by an artist, right? It's all about rights clearance. They're not doing that, they're doing that because they want predictable licensing, clear ownership, no surprises, and no legal headaches. And we definitely don't want any content getting muted later. It's all about risk management, and it's not just convenience. See, the biggest loss in KARRA's situation wasn't just money, it was time and it was momentum. And in today's internet culture, trends move very fast. The algorithm is constantly changing and audiences don't have attention spans like that. They tend to move on from things quickly. So if you miss the moment, think about it. The word momentum has the word moment in it, right? So if you miss the momentum, you miss the moment. Bars. Remember, KARRA has 6 to 9 months of silence, literal silence, on TikTok. Her songs were muted. They literally were available for search, but wouldn't play. And that's not a situation anybody wants to be in. See, that's how long it took them to get it unmuted and to get done with the lawsuit. By the time the music came back, the buzz, gone. The trend has passed. The audience has moved on, right? And that same thing can happen to you as a content creator. A video that gets claimed or muted during its peak moment is a video that does not reach its full potential, okay? So the real lesson here is simple. Content without music rights is a ticking time bomb. It might work today, it might monetize tomorrow, and it might even start gaining some traction as far as views and everything next week. But if the rights aren't clear, it can all disappear overnight. That's not what you want as a content creator. And so that's why libraries like Savage Sound Library exist. It's not just for convenience, but for protection, peace of mind, and predictable monetization. When your music is clear, you can upload consistently and confidently, deliver client work safely, you can scale your content, and you can keep the money that you earn. And if you want to avoid the exact type of issues that KARRA went through, just on a smaller scale, just go to the link in my description, savagesoundlibrary.com, enter your email, and grab the discount code. It's going to let you get the 10 tracks for $7. It's 98.5% off. So, and another thing that I want to make sure that I mention as well, KARRA's video about everything that happened made more money in 1 week on YouTube than she did from Spotify, from her royalties, in a year and a half. If that doesn't show you how valuable YouTube is as a platform, then I don't know what does. So go ahead, head to the Savage Sound Library, click that link, and go ahead and grab 10 tracks for less than the price of a coffee. I'm out.